It's been quite a dramatic day, as you would have been hearing during our news bulletins during the course of the day, and it started earlier this morning when the Black First, Land First contingency went as part of the hashtag Hands Off Jacob Zuma, made their way towards Luthuli House. Initially, one of their members was forced back, in fact had to be protected by the police, but he came back with his grouping a little bit later on. And this time they were able to deliver their list of demands to the ANC Secretary General, SABC, who said, thank you for your demands. We will present them to the NWC, that is, of course, meeting this afternoon to discuss the developments that took place yesterday, where the President met with the party's top six, where they discussed a transition and the future of the President. But we have heard nothing so far, so we'll keep you up to date with that. Our reporter Aldrin Sampear is on the scene, and hopefully we'll cross to him a little bit later on. He's at Luthuli House and been watching developments unfold during the course of today. All right, so it looks like he's ready for us. So let's cross to Aldrin Sampear now and catch up with him on what's really been a busy day, Aldrin.
Well, certainly it has been a busy day. First of all, we started this morning at Mary Fitzgerald Square, where a large police contingent were out there, and we're expecting the marches. And these were the guys who were saying that they were going to come and protect Luthuli House, the ANC members, to converge at Mary Fitzgerald Square. That didn't happen, and we decided to move all the way to Luthuli House, only to find a whole group of...
All right, it looks like we've dropped that line, but we'll try and go back to him a little bit later on. And in fact, let's go straight back to him. Aldrin, you were telling us it all started at Mary Fitzgerald Square earlier on this morning, but there were developments during the course of the day.
Well, certainly, yes, there have been developments during the course of the day. Of course, when the BLF members tried to march here to Luthuli House, there was one member in particular early in the morning who walked past Luthuli House. I guess he was going to Gandhi Square, and there was a little fracas that took place there. And later on, a couple of hours later, when a truck having BLF members as well as supporters, I guess, of those 11 other organizations who are saying hashtag Hands Off President Jacob Zuma, they were attacked. And the big story that came out of that, I don't know if you've seen those visuals of a woman who was continuously being kicked by one of the ANC members, and we've now confirmed that he is a secretary of one of the branches here in Johannesburg of the ANC. And I spoke to the ANC spokesperson earlier on this morning, and she did say that, of course, the ANC will be looking into this and going through the footage and ensuring that action is taken against these members, but also making sure that the law does take its course.
All right, so Aldrin, in the meantime, inside the building, an important meeting has been taking place as well.
Well, yes, an important meeting, of course, that has been taking place, and that's the meeting between the NWC and the ANC's top six. But just before we go to that meeting, because what happened is that you had the Secretary General of the ANC, and that is Ace Magashule, who had to leave the meeting to go and fetch this memorandum of demands from these so-called BLF members, as well as members who are saying that hands off President Jacob Zuma. And let's just take a quick listen to what he had to say to them.
All right, so we don't seem to have that clip with us. We'll hopefully play for it a little bit later on. But what did he say to them, Aldrin?
Well, he spoke to them and he said to them, and this is something that I find quite strange, he praised them for having behaved in a very peaceful manner, that there was no violence that was coming, at least from the BLF members side. But then immediately after that, these ANC protesters, these ANC members who were saying that they are here to protect Luthuli House, started heckling Ace Magashule, started saying that Ulisela, you are a thief, bring back the money. And of course they were referring to the money of the dairy farm. This is the Vrede dairy farm, money that has believed to have been taken away from this project and believed to have been funding the Gupta wedding that took place in Sun City.
So a challenging time for Ace Magashule outside of Luthuli House, but I would imagine that inside Luthuli House, this NWC gathering also discussing very challenging issues.
Well, certainly two major issues that would be on the table at this point. First of all, it's of course the meeting that took place between President Jacob Zuma as well as the ANC's top officials, and the outcome of that meeting, what has been decided and whether President Jacob Zuma has agreed or not agreed to step down. And from the sources that we are getting, we are hearing that President Jacob Zuma has said that he will not step down. And you know, you're speaking about a challenging time for Ace Magashule, and you know it's Ace Magashule who has been making this argument continuously, saying that President Jacob Zuma will finish his term, and which his term ends, of course, in 2019. And the other issue, of course, on the agenda is this motion of no confidence against President Jacob Zuma, which will be tabled and debated on the 22nd of this month. How must this issue be handled? And this is quite interesting, because remember that if President Jacob Zuma does not step down as the president of the country, and you have some ANC MPs who have been calling on the president to go, what would the message from the ANC, the NEC, as well as the National Working Committee be to the members of parliament in the caucus? What would that message be? Would that message be that you remain seated during the SONA that President Jacob Zuma will be delivering, and you do not humiliate the president? You make sure that you protect the president, and when it comes to the motion of no confidence debate in the president, what would that instruction be? How must the ANC caucus in parliament vote?
All right, we'll leave it there for the time being. Aldrin Sampear in downtown Johannesburg at the ANC headquarters, Luthuli House, where there's been a lot of activity taking place. And one of those issues they're discussing is the State of the Nation address and also the vote of no confidence. Now, that's scheduled for the 22nd. But earlier on today, the Commander-in-Chief of EFF, Julius Malema, said that that debate is going to take place on Thursday. So lots to watch out for this week, but we'll get an update on what's been happening with the NWC a little bit earlier on, that's been taking place during the course of this day. We'll hopefully get an update from Aldrin later on.